Day 27. The trees are swaying in the strong coastal winds. The birds are chirping the same old tunes. And yet the roads are empty, lined with cars and no one to drive them. I'm scared to leave the house, and I've been etching tally marks into my walls to keep track of the days. I know it's been less than a month, but every minute feels like an hour. Every hour feels like a day. And every day feels like a damn year. My former life was uprooted in an instant. I miss being able to take walks down the street, breathe in the morning dew of freshly cut lawns. I miss going to the farmers markets on the side of the highway and looking at all the beautiful, fresh fruit. Believe it or not, I even miss going to work. I never thought I'd long for days in that dull office, lit with shades of green that made me nauseous. But at least it gave me a reason to wake up every day. These days, I sit in the living room, hoping the TV will randomly turn back on, or I'm checking the surroundings from the attic, hoping for a sign of life. At least working at the office gave me a daily routine, filled with friends and colleagues. Thanks to the outbreak, my daily routine now is making sure I don't die. Day 33. Today, I stepped outside for the first time in weeks. I was running low on food, so I left the house with only my gas mask on and an empty duffel bag around my shoulder. Through all the dust, dirt, and fog in the air, the blue sky I used to know has been clouded by a green hue in the air, the kind of green usually visible on trees and bushes in late spring. I found a few cans of beans left in the grocery store and some Winchester rounds nearby, but that's it. I also found a young girl, probably around 14 or 15 years old, hiding out in the back of a record store. I found a guitar there too, and since I've got plenty of free time nowadays, I grabbed it. Mama would play the guitar for me when I was a little girl, and I regret never picking it up myself, so I'm going to try to right some of my wrongs here. As for the girl, she nodded when I asked if she wanted to come with me, but has yet to say a word. She was wearing a gas mask, but had nothing else with her, and it seemed like she was alone, so I figured it wouldn't hurt either of us to ask. It's a risk. I don't know where she's been or who she's touched. Hell, I could be dead tomorrow as a result. But right now, I just need company. I still don't know her name, but we have to start somewhere. Day 54. It's been 21 days since I brought the girl in, and progress has been made. She finally told me her name, Lily. And a few days after bringing her in, she randomly picked up the guitar and started playing. It's like I have my own personal Bob Dylan living with me. It's not much, but simply having her in the house gives me the realest reason I've had to wake up yet. Day 65. Lily and I went to search for flour and water today. We had to go deeper into town than either of us have traveled before, but we wound up finding 2 bags of flour and a case of Dasani. I'm not Dasani's biggest fan, but at this point, water's water. Nearby where we found the water, we came across some warnings that had been spray painted on the sides of some buildings. Things like, "We are watching," and "God is gone, and we are his replacements." Pretty ominous shit. Lily and I tried to get in and out of town as fast as possible. We already don't enjoy going outside, and those warnings definitely did their job. Day 70. Every time Lily and I venture out for supplies, we end up walking farther and farther. Today, we walked until we came across a tiny market, 2 towns over from where we began. The market looked like it hadn't been touched since the outbreak began, so we took all that we could carry, but we barely made a dent. Though we're grateful to have found supplies, Lily's convinced that going back to the market isn't a good idea. We would hear a whisper to our right, and then hear another one from our left within the next second. Lily thinks we're being watched, and while she may be right, the supplies in the market would help us last through most of the winter. The way I see it, we'll probably starve if we don't get those supplies. Lily's against the idea, but I'd like to at least stock up on a few more items with one more trip to the market tomorrow before staying inside for another month. Day 71. This morning, Lily and I got into a pretty heated argument over whether we should go back to the market. She claimed it was dumb to risk our lives by going back to the market after what we heard. Well, I understood what she was saying. I tried to tell her that whoever's out there could have already followed us, and sitting here could be just as big of a risk as going back out. After a few more back and forths, she finally agreed with me. I'm not sure if she did it so we could stop arguing or because I had actually convinced her. Nonetheless, we each grabbed 2 duffel bags and agreed beforehand to fill them as quickly as possible and then get the hell out of there. We got most of the stuff in the market, but Lily was right. We were being watched. As soon as we got back to the house, a group started firing at us. Lily got clipped in her right shoulder, and as I saw her fall in immediate pain, my whole reason for living flashed before my eyes. There were only 3 of them shooting at us, but that still was almost too much. I dragged Lily inside, hid her away from any windows, and told her to stop the bleeding. I ran up to the attic with my Winchester. I picked 2 of them off before the third realized where I was. He had me pinned. I moved to a window on the 2nd story and picked him off from there. The whole time, though, I couldn't stop thinking about Lily. I have no clue if that was a full group or simply a scout team for a larger group, but I tended to Lily as soon as I could and didn't even bother to think about that while doing so. Luckily, the bullet went straight through, so Lily was able to stop the bleeding. I disinfected it and used the last of our gauze to bandage her up. I'm no medical professional, but glad I was able to do enough to keep Lily here with me. It's been a few hours since this all happened, and I haven't left her side all night. I don't think she's going to be able to play her guitar for a while given her injury, so maybe I'll finally pick up the guitar for her. I worry that more people could come back tomorrow, in a week, or even a month. So for tonight, I'm going to be the absolute worst guitar player in the world, and hopefully make Lily laugh. Wherever she is, I hope Mama sees me, finally trying. Thank you, Lily.